Yeah, lovely.
And most probably we are live, right, guys? We are live, but you guys, you know me, I just have to double check quickly because I need to be. And there we go. And there we go again. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm so happy to be here with you, all of you today. This is a new episode of the Truth Runners Talk Show. And I am very, very happy because our topic is different today. And my guest is very, very special as well. I would love to welcome Hilda Kalap to our show today. So welcome, Hilda. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation.
Oh, thank you very much, Christina, for having me on your show. I'm just honoured to be here and to be able to talk about this topic with you.
My great pleasure. Hilda is new to the Truth Runners Talk Show, so please allow me, guys, to introduce her to you so you know who our guest today is. She's a life and business coach, a trainer, an energy healer, writer, and speaker who helps people to overcome anxiety during times of massive change, to become more confident and trusting in their own abilities, to create the life what they want. Her new organization, Roots of Hope, works with children, young people, individuals, and corporates, and storytelling at the heart of the service she offers. Hilda speaks on topics such as diversity and inclusion, gender equality, mental health, and overcoming grief and loss. Two interesting facts about her. She's English, having gone to school with J.K. Rowling and being part of a global campaign to ban landmines spearheaded by Princess Diana, which won the Nobel Prize, resulting in a treaty signed by almost 200 nations to ban these heinous weapons. Wow. Hilda has written 4 books and runs a masterclass called Writing for Wellbeing online and face-to-face. She's the UK ambassador for a global initiative to empower women called Empowerment Through Spoken Word Poetry with Dr. Anita Caprice. So I'm so happy, Hilda, and honored to have you as my guest. So welcome again.
Oh, thank you. Well, I'm thrilled to be here. When you read all that out, I was thinking, really, do I do all that? But I enjoy what I do, and yeah.
Yeah, sometimes, it's very interesting that you said that because when some people, sometimes when people introduce us to stay and listen, like, who is that woman? She's doing all that things and she's just one beautiful soul and doing all those kind of things. So wow, so before we really go into our topic, I would love to ask you what I always love to ask my guests. Who are you, Hilda? Who you truly are?
Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
In my heart, I'm an old soul. I'm a light worker, and I'm here to support people to live their best lives and to remove the fear that may be holding them back, so especially women and girls.
Thank you. I can see you, actually. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So our topic from today it's going to be hard to pronounce for me, so bear with me, guys. This is my third language, okay? It's bereavement and loss.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's a very interesting topic because most of what I'm experienced is most of the coaches and mentors, they kind of run, they don't really like to discuss, especially not in public, the topic because it's a little bit, they say, heavy. Yet I am very happy that you choose the topic because it's important. It is very, very important. It's present in everybody's life.
Yeah.
None of us is an exception for that.
Yeah.
So thank you for being brave and being bold and choosing the topic. I really, truly appreciate. And I would love to ask you, what experience do you have of bereavement and loss?
Well, gosh, when I look back over my life, and I'm now in my 50s, I think about the very first time when I was 5 and I took my first plane flight. My mother's from Russia, and we took a plane from Moscow to London. And immediately I lost my family. I lost my grandmother, my grandfather, my uncles, my aunts, my cousins, who were all in Russia, and didn't see them again for 15 years. And then I didn't know about my father's side of the family. He never really talked about them, but he was one of 10 children. And I had discovered after his death and piecing the jigsaw puzzle together that I actually had, on his side, I had 54 cousins, which I didn't even know existed until I was in my 40s. And I visited his country and met many of them for the first time. So that was my first experience of loss. And then we were all touched by this. I lost my father when I was 26. He was only 48. He died of a brain tumor, and that affected me deeply. And then friends and other family members passed. And then I went through a divorce. And then I had a miscarriage when I was 4 months pregnant. So lots of loss of different types. And on top of all that, what people might not think about as loss, moving jobs and not seeing those friends and people you work with. I've probably had 80 jobs, maybe more, I don't know, a lot of jobs, and moved on and not always kept in touch with everybody. And moving house many times as well, different areas of the world.
Wow. If someone can talk and share about how to cope, then I guess you are the person here. How would you define grief? What is grief, really?
Yeah. Well, grief is another form of love, but it's love in that form where you have lost somebody either through death, or you won't see them again for another reason. You may be estranged from them, or you move country and you don't see them.
Like in your case, for example, right? When you lost your family, like not seeing them for many, many years, that's loss.
Yeah. And as you get older, sometimes it's more difficult to cope with than when you're a child. But so grief is a form of love, but in another form. Grief is also all those feelings of, if your spouse, your partner has passed unexpectedly, or even you were thinking you knew it was going to happen, it's still a profound experience when you do lose them, even though they might have been ill for a long time. It's also the plans that you had, all the things that didn't materialize, like you were planning to get married or have children together, or be together for a long time, buy a house, have all those adventures. So grief is also that. And grief is also when you move out of the pattern of what you were used to. So you'd have that person, or it could be an animal with you that whole time, and then suddenly they're no longer there, and there's this big hole, and that's the pattern that's changed for you. So all those are definitions of grief.
May I ask you a might be strange question, but do you think that we human beings know how to grieve?
I think some people grieve on their own, and there's been a lot of research that when you grieve on your own, it's not healthy for you. But when you grieve with others in a non-judgmental space, then it's more healthy. When I was talking about my Russian side of my family, they used to go to the graveside of their parents, my grandparents. My uncle I remember him sitting there in the graveside on a weekend with his little glass of vodka and his bread and his fish, and he would just open up his food and sit there with some other relatives, and they would chat and they would raise a toast and they would talk share lots of stories about that person until they were very drunk, and it was all kind of like a celebration of their life. But when I came to the UK, I didn't experience that with my friends' families so much. And I wondered why people didn't talk about it very much. So there's very many different ways of grieving.
Yeah, I think it's different. It's different because, I was born in East Europe as well. I was born in Romania, and I know I'm seeing that we grieve differently. And the reason why I asked you the question is because sometimes people don't allow themselves, they don't give themselves the time to grieve. They start to live in denial, and then all those kind of emotions and everything it got trapped in the bodies, right? And it just accumulates, and the energy accumulates because, being very honest, we are not taught how to grieve, for how long to grieve, what it means to a healthy grieving, and what is a prolonged grief.
Yes. And people suppress those emotions, and then they will have emotional outbursts, which actually did happen to me after my father died. I had a big emotional outburst because I kept it bottled up for a year, and I was consumed with my work. You know, people go into, maybe they take alcohol, or they become workaholics, or they, you know, other things.
All kind of addictions. Yeah, true.
Yeah. It would be good if it was like a healthy way to grieve. So, for example, I've got a friend whose husband passed of kidney cancer recently, and she's now training to run a marathon in honor of him and a kidney cancer charity. So this is, for me, a healthy outlet. And for her, obviously, you know.
Yeah, this is really, really important, because I'm saying that we are not taught, we don't know how to grieve, we don't know how to cope with that. And sometimes, you know, we have this prolonged grief. What exactly that means?
Prolonged grief is when you have grief for at least 12 months and it's still very central to your life. So your focus every day is on whatever that loss is, and you cannot move on, and it's affecting you. You haven't been able to integrate it into your life. You haven't been able to really come to a place of processing and more acceptance, and it's affecting you mentally, emotionally, physically. You might have, you know, pains in your body. You know, you might be very anxious and still depressed, and that is what is prolonged grief. And everybody obviously grieves differently. You know, there's no, you have to stop grieving at 12 months or three days or whatever it is. Everybody is different.
But what I'm seeing is, and what I'm saying is, yes, grief, you have to allow yourself to grieve.
Yeah.
But also you have to know when it's time to move on. I'm not saying to, you know, people say, and coaches say, let go. I mean, I don't really like, I'm not,
yes,
let go.
It's about adjusting. It's about adjusting. It's not kind of, you haven't moved on in the sense of, you know, that used to be the expression, and we tend to still use it, but the better language around it is adjusting now, and being able to accept it and to cherish that person, but it's not in a way in your life now where it's central to your life and the focus is still on them.
True. How is grief different after bereavement due to suicide?
Yes, well, there's a term for that, it's called postvention. And well, I mean, suicide, the question is always why. You know, why? And often people won't leave notes, and sometimes if they do, it even raises more questions than answers. And there is that sudden shock. And with suicide, more people will have been affected by it, because you'll have the first responders, perhaps, you know, the emergency services, you'll have the relatives, it'll be more public, because there'll usually be an inquest. So it'll be in the news what's happened. There'll be investigations and questions asked of everybody to try and understand what, piece it all together. And then there's the guilt and the shame, and the shock for that, the people affected. And unfortunately, those that are affected, I read some research that 67% of those affected by someone's suicide are likely to think about suicide themselves.
Wow.
So that's how it's different.
Okay, this is a topic I could go in really, really, because you were talking about things what comes up after, you know, the shame and guilt.
Yes.
You know, shame and guilt are really, really just human manipulations. It's something which is like conditioning. That's again another topic, really. What I was thinking is that just to summarizing this first part, really, is that we are, number one, not taught how to grieve. That's for sure. And I've learned from you that, and yes, we all grieve differently. But the more important thing is to allow ourselves, to grieve. Don't suppress the emotions, the emotion of
Absolutely.
grief,
Yeah.
because that causes dis-ease, right? Dis-ease is in body. It can even bring to addictions. You were talking about that as well. So it's really, really, really a very interesting topic. So I could be here for you a long, long time. But I would love to change the tone a little bit, and I would love to ask you about your new business, because you said you changed a lot of jobs and you did that and that, and that's okay. I always say, if you don't feel good in a place, move. You are not a tree, okay? You are not rooted there. You can move. You have 2 feet. You can move until you find something which resonates, which is in alignment. And if you're not, then you just create a way for yourself. And I think this is exactly what you just did, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So your new business is called Root of Hopes. Root
Yeah.
of Hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a health and well-being business. I'm passionate about supporting people to let go of fear, let go of anxiety, so that they can move forward in their life with more faith and self-confidence. Because if you think about, you were talking about conditioning from a very young age. I mean, girls as young as 6 are already feeling ashamed of their bodies, or they're comparing themselves to others, or they're wanting the latest clothes and maybe their parents can't afford them and things like this. And there's all this conditioning that's happening, and it holds us back as adults because it gets ingrained in our subconscious thinking. So it's about kind of rewiring, helping you to rewire yourself and your thinking, so that you can progress, you can move forward. It doesn't mean that you're going to be positive all the time. No, you have a cry, let it out, let those emotions out when you're really upset about something, and then think about why you were upset, reflect on it, and then think about how you can move on as well. What steps can you take? So it's about, I really feel passionate about supporting children with this, because as I said, I think they did research, and children at the age of 6, girls and boys, are generally both outspoken, use their voices, pretty confident, say what they think. If they say something to you, it's like, I don't like your top, I don't like that color. It's kind of nice, it's kind of charming, and it's honest. But then by the time they're 11, it's very different. So I would love to see children grow up to their full potential as adults, because we're going to have a better society that way. We're going to have a better world that way. So Roots of Hope comes from, my father was born in a house called L'Espérance in South America. And it comes from that, really, because L'Espérance means hope in French. And him and all his siblings were born in this house. And on his side, I noticed that there were all these things that they did that nobody in the family had done. So they were kind of the first in the family to do this. My grandparents left India. They were the first to leave the caste system in India. They didn't want a part of it. They wanted to create their own kind of life with more social upward mobility. And then my father was the first in his family to get a scholarship and go overseas and study. And he became an engineer and got a degree in civil engineering. And he was the first in his family. And he built a bridge back in Guyana, his home country, which connected the river, left and right side of the Demerara River. And so people didn't have to take the ferry for 8 hours to go to the market. They could just take the bridge and drive across in half an hour or so. That's what he gave back. And he was the first in the family to do that. My mother was the first in her family to get on a plane and leave communism behind, because she was born in Russia. She, at the height of the Cold War, she had married my father, and took about 6 months, but she left Russia with all the bureaucracy and the paperwork tied up. It was all done, took a long time, but she did it. And she was the first to say, look, I'm going to start a new life. I've got faith and hope and confidence in myself to do that. And I'm going to leave and start anew. So that's what it's about. That's what's at the root of it, is to say, I have the faith and confidence in myself, and I want to do what makes me happy and fulfilled, but also to help society if I can in some way. And I'm letting go of my anxiety because there's a lot of anxiety around at the moment, isn't there? The cost of living and the war in the Ukraine and other places and all sorts of negative news. But yet we can step outside of that, but it means getting some support to do that and thinking in a different way. And so that's what this business is about.
Wow, thank you. And I'm loving what you said, that you love to work. Thank you for sharing the story of your family. It's really inspirational. You say, if you can have, I think you already did.
Oh,
you already did, just sharing our experiences, our stories, sharing how we went from A to B, how we went from down to up, and how we changed and how we shifted.
Yeah.
That is already a help to somebody who listens or who watches, really. So I love that. And you were talking about loving to work with children, right? And our education system. What it just actually crossed my mind is that, we can actually teach our children how to grieve and how to cope with grief from a very young age. Because what we do right now, we just don't want to bring them around grief and sadness. So we think that we protect them.
Yeah.
But what in fact we do, we are not protecting them at all. We're just not preparing them to what's going to happen, when as they grow up, right? They will experience more and more loss, more and more grief, more and more, okay? And they will not be able to cope because nobody taught them. So you working with young children, and having these organizations of hope, and just crossed my mind that it actually would be really, really nice if we teach these things to our children.
My first picture book that I wrote, it's in a series called Donna and Dermot. So Dermot is this dog and Donna is his good friend, and they have adventures together. And this book is all about moving house and missing your friends, missing your grandparents, moving house. And Donna's lying on her bed and she's feeling really, really upset. And of course, dogs and pets, animals are always in the moment. They're always in the moment. And they don't give you a chance to really get too upset because they don't hold grudges. They don't feel, depressed like that. And so the dog Dermot cheers her up in the story. Oh. So I already wrote a picture book about that. And I was told that it was going to be good for children who move a lot. So children who are in the army, like in the forces, from those families. And also I was thinking children who are in boarding school, who might be away from their families as well and spending, their time, their holidays in boarding school.
True. That's so true. I completely agree with you. And with this, I would love to ask you, what services do you offer to those who experience grief and loss?
Yes.
Because you do all this with children, with adults. So what kind of services do you offer?
Yeah, so I go into the schools, I go to libraries, and I go
to
other places, health and wellbeing fairs, events, to read my books. And then I have a group of children sitting there and we chat about these topics and about these themes. And I ask them about, their lives as well. And I talk about animals a lot as well, because they what helped me overcome my miscarriage and keep me in a good place, in a better place, mentally especially, was when I had my first dog. And that was not long after I had my miscarriage. And because I was so focused on the puppy, I really didn't have time to think about too much else. And I was always so happy, to have the puppy around me. So for me, animals have been, and I have a dog and 2 cats. So animals have always supported me in my darkest times. And that's why I write about them and how we can learn so much about what they're like in their lives, forgiveness and being in the moment. And just bringing joy and love and wherever they go. So, yes, I read in different places. I offer a writing course for people because one of the things that, again, has helped me is to just write about my experiences and just have it out of my head and on paper. And then that way it's not stored here, it's not suppressed, it's out here. And I've started reading from I've written a memoir. I started reading from my memoir. when you write things, it lifts those emotions that are dense. You know, there's guilt and the shame are so dense, and you might be suppressing, talking about, you know, how you dislike your body, for example, and you don't tell anybody. But when you write about these things, it's suddenly out there, and it's almost as if you've shed a layer of that shame. And then when people read it, if you allow them to read it and they accept it and they say, hey, you're a good writer, and that's really helped me, you accept yourself as well.
True.
And so I offer writing for well-being workshops. But my favorite thing is storytelling. I've been a storyteller all my life. And I think through sharing our stories, we connect in a way, you know, that in no other way. We used to have an oral tradition before we ever wrote. And I love going into a circle where everybody's exactly equal, young, old, whatever, whoever background. You could be the richest person in the world or not, but we're all equal in the circle. And we all just share our stories on whatever theme it might be.
Thank you. Oh, wow. Thank you, Hilda, for sharing. I'm loving you. I love because you sit in circles. Nobody below you, nobody above you. They're all the same. It doesn't really matter. Thank you for sharing that you write books. Thank you for sharing that with writing, right? Sometimes we are ashamed, right? Ashamed, we feel guilt on speaking or telling somebody about things. But when we write down, it has the same releasing effect, right? It's like I feel like a relief. Oh my God, I said it. I wrote it down. It feels different. You feel lighter. You feel you don't feel that heaviness in your heart and in your body. It's like I just put it out, and that's very, very important because we don't through writing. So that's why I invite you always, guys, and thank you, Hilda, for that. Write everything down. That's why I think that journaling is important. Just write a diary. Just take a piece of paper. Just do. I mean, or on your computer. Okay, I advise write by hand, but that's me because. But we live in an era of technology. Do it on your phone. Do it on your laptop or whatever you have. Tablet. Just write. Say, don't say it out loud if it doesn't feel right, but write it out, and that helps greatly. And I also know about you, and I would love to share this if you allow me, that you are an amazing energy worker, and you are in Rouhani. This is a very new concept for me. I am working with Reiki. I work with energy healing, but Rouhani, it's a very new concept, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't mind, please share a little bit more about what is Rouhani, how does it work, how can help. Obviously, it helps. It's energy work, so it's no question about that.
Yeah, Rouhani is like Reiki, but it's just a slightly faster vibration and slightly higher frequency. So Reiki comes from Gaia, it comes from the earth. It was channeled about 100 years ago. Rouhani was only channeled in 2002 to someone called Carol Stacey, who is still alive. She's nearly 80 years old, a phenomenal woman. And she woke up one day and in her bedroom, there was this Logos, who is the teacher for the universe, who helps us to raise our consciousness and evolve as a human race. And he was standing in her bedroom, 7 foot tall, and she thought she had, gone crazy. But her husband saw him too and talked about him. So she realized that she hadn't. And anyway, so Rouhani comes from the planets and celestial beings, not from the earth. It's from the Pleiades, Andromeda, and Sirius. And it means of the heart. So there's a pink ray of light that vibrates on the heart center. And when you're attuned to the 4 symbols, the 3 symbols for Rouhani, truth, love, and compassion, and you get attuned into your solar plexus, into your heart, and into your 3rd eye. If you want to be a teacher, you can also, you'll know there's a 4th symbol as well. So what it has done for myself and many, I've attuned 25 practitioners and I've attuned 1 teacher. We were only allowed to attune face-to-face, so I wasn't allowed to attune during lockdown at all because of the, the rules. But now we're allowed to attune online. So this is fantastic. So I can now work with anybody globally, and I cannot wait to do that. It's so powerful. It has transformed my life because you learn how to self-heal. and
That's
lift
it.
all the emotions that hold you back, and all that negative inner voice that says you're not good enough, you can't do this, who do you think you are, you know,
Yeah.
who do you think you are to stand up on stage and read from your book? That was the voice in my head for such a long time. Rahani helps you to lift it, and you self-heal. You can send distant healing. I was sending lots of distant healing to people during COVID times. And you can work face-to-face as well. It's very
Thank
powerful.
you. Thank you. Oh my God, I'm loving you more and more, Hilda.
I love being on your show, Christina.
Because
And if you would like to learn, or you know anyone who would like to learn, I would love to teach them. It's one of my favorite things.
so guys, if you would love to know about the energy healing, if you would love to know more about Rahani, then reach out to Hilda. She's going to guide you. She's going to tell you how you can get there, what you can do. It's truth, love, and compassion. I'm loving it. So you already got me there. And the other thing is self-healing, right? Because every healing, guys, remember, I always tell this, every healing is self-healing. You do it to yourself, you do it through channeling, from the earth, from up there, from whatever, but you doing the channeling, and you cannot heal somebody else until you don't heal yourself. You cannot love somebody else until you are not in love with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? And because
Rahani's so great as well for people who've got animals, but they can't afford the vet's bills. So I've had clients who have got horses, and then how am I going to pay the vet's bills? So I've taught them, and they then do the energy healing on their horses or their dogs. And also it has worked very well for children who have got ADHD as well. So because it balances the energy in the body.
Oh, yes, it is true. Shpresa is asking you here now, why having a pet at home makes people peaceful, quieter, and kind. So we just go back a little bit to the previous and answer to Shpresa if you would love to.
Well, I mean, they animals pick up on your energy straight away. They know.
I have a cat. He's a boy.
Yeah, and they know, and they're, you know, and when they purr, when they come close to you, as you know, with the cats, they're like sort of vibrating on your energy, but also they bring in a calmness. So you're absorbing their energy. It's like a contagious, beautiful, lovely thing, and it calms you down. And there's been lots of research, you know, it lowers your blood pressure and it makes you less anxious. And of course, at the bottom of it all is love. You know, at the bottom of all of this is love. And when you're in that place, miracles happen. That's when the magic happens. And that's why, you know, I don't think I could live without animals in my life now.
I'm loving what you're saying. Love is love is the universal language. The whole universe, it's unconditional love. You know, matter as a matter of fact, it does not exist. It's all energy and sound, vibration, right, and colors, and that's the element, the component of it. It's love.
Yeah.
And when we tap into that energy and we go into our heart center, when we connect with love, then we see the world through the eyes of love, and then we see the world completely differently. And
absolutely,
I'm saying it's one of the highest, if not the higher frequency possible, and that's love. That's unconditional love. And getting back to animals, my cat, his name is Jasper. He's a very stubborn. He's a cat, okay? So he has his own rules, his own cat. When I feel good, he just, is around me when he's hungry. So he doesn't even bother when I'm feeling down or I know I'm going through something. My cat is always on my lap, on my bed, near me.
Yeah. Oh, I love Jasper.
He always knows. So when I'm, sometimes I go to sleep. Sometimes he visits Maya. She's my daughter. Maya, she's fine. She's a perfectly balanced child, really, honestly. He doesn't really bother. Oh, she's fine. And then she comes to my husband, he comes to my husband. My husband is fine. I'm going to Christina. If I'm fine, then he goes down and he sleeps, in front of the bed. If I'm feeling tired or low, he always sleeps up almost at my head. Or
Gosh.
sometimes he goes down to my feet. But then, based on his behavior, I can kind of analyze my own state, where I am right now. And then I sit and I'm asking myself, where are you right now? Where I am right now, emotionally? Where is my soul? How am I feeling? How am I truly feeling? Because sometimes, people go, oh, Hilda, how are you doing? How was your day today? Just for the sake of asking, and you say good English word, I'm fine, thank you, but you're not.
That is the automatic response very often.
Exactly. And you're not good at all. But this is how we respond. And then we do this, with the animals around, we can do this self-check. How do I feel? How my pet behaves around me, and then I know how I'm feeling. I can take an, kind of inventory of that, of how am I feeling really.
Yeah, absolutely. They're so sensitive, aren't they? They're so attuned and so wise. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like, do we deserve them? That's just so, animals are so amazing.
But the good thing about pets is that in their next lives, they're gonna be in human form the most probably. Okay. I'm gonna there is Dolores Cannon. Okay, I read a lot about her and about her work. I love very much Dolores Cannon. She talks about the 3 waves of volunteers, and there what she explains, during her hypnotherapy sessions, what people channel and what she channeled, that apparently it looks like those animals which are pets right now, their next life, because the soul want to grow, they choose to be in human form because this is what they want to experience next. So I'm guys, I'm not
it
going
might well
there.
be true. It might well be true. I mean, she's so spiritually evolved, and I've heard the same from other psychics or mediums as well. I can say to you that definitely there's something about it. When I've experienced bereavement and someone's passed, it's happened so many times now. There'll be a moth or there'll be some unusual animal in the presence in the house or something like that. When I had my miscarriage, it was when was that, 2006 now, so quite a long time ago, and it was when I was 4 months pregnant, and we had our baby's body cremated, and then we went to a church. We were living in New Zealand at the time, and it was just outside of Wellington, the capital. Beautiful church with its white board and a kind of a red roof like a steeple, and there was a tree by the church, big tree, and beautiful kofi, which are yellow flowers that were out. And we walked around the church and we put the ashes of our child on the grass by the church, and then we were in tears and we were hugging, and just as that moment, there was a bird that started crying at the top of the tree, and I have never seen a bird like that. And I have never heard a cry like that. And it sounded like a human voice when it cried, like a baby's voice. And it cried for a little bit. It was the most exquisite sound, but also slightly mournful, but also like, don't worry, everything's okay. And I just knew that this was the spirit of that child in the form of a bird.
Yeah, thank you, Hilda, for sharing that. I really, truly appreciate. Thank you so much. Okay, going back, Christina. Are there any resources you can recommend to our listeners today?
There's lots of books on bereavement. There's one that many people have read and recommend called Grief Works by an author called Julia Samuels. There's also Helping for the Helper by someone called Babette Rothschild. So Helping for the Helper is recommended. My personal favorite when I was going through grief was a book called Don't Kiss Them Goodbye. And it was by somebody who said they're always around you, whatever. A lot of people don't believe in life after death, I know, but this book helped me a lot, because it was about knowing that they had passed in spirit and they were still around you. And because, right, we're all energy, and one of the laws of energy is that energy won't disappear, it will just change its form.
Thank you.
How can it disappear? It changes its form. And so this book, Don't Kiss Them Goodbye, and I can't remember the author, I think it's Julia Dubois, I think, comes up. It's a fantastic book with all her experiences of seeing people who've passed to the spirit world. And you know, there's kind of almost they wish for you to have a better life. They want you to have a better life, and to be happy, and to laugh and not feel guilty about laughing. So if somebody dies, you know, you don't need to feel guilty if you have a laugh about a joke or something makes you laugh. You know, it's okay. Because they want you to be happy. They want you to maybe find love again, if you know, if you find that another person to love.
That's true. That's true. And thank you for sharing that, because here's my way of thinking. We are energy beings, right? And you just said that energy cannot be created, cannot be destroyed, it only can be transformed.
Yeah.
Now, as energy beings, we don't disappear, okay? We are not destroyed. Therefore, we transform.
Yeah.
So in one form or another, we are together.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that is something what helps greatly if you open your heart and you open your mind.
Yeah.
You open your mind, especially to understand, and you silence your ego a little bit. You put your ego in its corner and you open your heart, and you allow to see with your heart and to think with your heart instead of thinking with your mind, which trying to find explanations to everything, right? Then you will realize, you will have that knowing that we are always together in some kind of shape and form, in any kind.
I've had so much evidence of it. My father passed, and his favorite song was Patsy Cline, Crazy. I turned on the radio in my car, Patsy Cline, Crazy, just after he died. It's like, what's going on? And it happened many times. And at the time I was really skeptical. I was one of the most skeptical people in the world about all of this.
This is how we start.
Yeah. And then my daughter, I called her Elsa because of I wanted that lioness. Do you remember that film Born Free, about this lioness called Elsa? It was made in the 60s, and it was a lioness that had been born in captivity but freed, and she got used to living in the wild, and she mated and had cubs and all of this. This is very unusual for that to happen. Anyway, they called the lioness Elsa, and for me, having a daughter who could do whatever she wanted in life, who was free to do whatever she wanted, Born Free was one of my favorite films. And the soundtrack, there's a beautiful song. And then just after she was born, this soundtrack came up in the car again. I mean, that's a really unusual song. How often does that happen?
Exactly. And you know that there are no coincidences.
No coincidence.
Everything happens for a reason. Every cause is an effect. So wow, thank you.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength. And yeah, you just experiment, be open, you know, look out for signs and signals, because they're everywhere. I've lost count of the number of times I've seen coins on the ground. I've seen feathers on the ground, you know, and these are often signs that you're on the right track.
That's true. I agree. And what I'm saying is, we very often walk with life, through life, with our eyes closed and our shoes on. If we really open our eyes and take our shoes off, then we really see what's around us. So I'm not gonna leave it with that. Otherwise, we're gonna stay here until tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
How can people get in touch with you, Hilda? So guys, if you loved, and I'm sure you did, and if you think that Hilda can help you, and I'm sure she can, where people can find you, Hilda?
So I'm on the Facebook, I'm on Insta, I'm on LinkedIn, And I'm also on my email, which is hildakalap@yahoo.co.uk. And soon we'll have our website up for Roots of Hope. So just look out for that in the next couple of weeks. And yeah, very exciting.
I'm so happy. I'm excited. I'm really, really looking forward to have your website up and running. I'm going to add Hilda's social media platform sites, the links in the comments below. So if you feel like you
Let's put
resonate
that
with
on
her,
here. Yeah.
then just please feel free to reach out to her. And before we finish our True Silence from today, I'm gonna repeat myself. I don't like to ask, oh, would you like to give some advice? I don't give, I don't take. But is there is there any message? What would you love to share with our audience today as a final thought?
Oh gosh, well, I now say live each day to the full, because life is absolutely precious, and at the same time, don't take life too seriously.
Seriously. Thank you. That's a great advice, and I'm gonna leave you with this, guys. Don't take life too seriously, because we take it too seriously. Thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you, Hilda, for
You're very
honoring me with
welcome.
your presence. Thank you for all your hearts, loves, comments. I really, really appreciate all of you. I'm going to see you next time for the next episode of the Truth Runners Talk Show. Until then, as always, I'm sending you lots of love and light. Bye for now.